Happy New Year. Happy New Year. How are you doing? Woo, woo, 2026. So I thought it would be really fun for the new year, the new vibes, if you will. It's literally just a new day, right? But I thought it would be fun to explore new freedom and new happiness as a topic today. Um, I am hearing an echo. Let me get rid of it. Okay, there we go. All right. So if you are watching live, let us know what you're drinking for this Tea with Bestie episode. I'm drinking, as per usual, I'm drinking a coffee with MCT oil blended inside of it. Kicking off the new year. And yeah. So I did a couple of things. I prepared some stuff for you as always. I always like to take a little bit of time to get deliberate with what I'm going to kick off our conversations with. So I give us like a grounded topic, and then we can go into questions and go back and forth and have a conversation. If you're watching the replay, you are not left behind. Please feel free to comment below and join the conversation down there. This is about a collab of all of our thoughts. And so first, I just really wanted to wish you a happy new year. And I don't know if you were reflecting on the last year at all, but in my own reflection on 2025, which could probably be its own video, just about the tremendous amount of growth that I've had personally from actively deprogramming and deconstructing from AA ideology. I am in a new freedom and a new happiness. It's more about freedom to me. Happiness is fleeting, right? But freedom, I have unlocked a lot of freedom from AA ideology that I didn't even know that I was trapped in. I literally thought that I was starting to dissent just because I wanted to create the content. I wanted it to exist. I felt like it needed to come out of me. I didn't know that it was going to lead to such a huge liberation ongoingly for myself. I feel like I've become a new person every month by doing this work. So if that's you too, if you've been along for the 2025 Sobriety Bestie, deconstructing AA, removing the mindfuckery, the bullshittery, and then it's been a year of freedom for me for sure. So we have, let's see, David, coffee, my new addiction. Cheers to the coffee vibes. We got some Happy New Year, cycle of growth. Happy New Year, Bestie. Happy New Year, John. Happy New Year, everybody. Kate is here. Happy New Year. Happy freedom. Yeah, so I wanted to just talk about new freedom, new happiness, and I really want to know your thoughts on it too. A lot of people did not experience a new freedom and a new happiness from doing Alcoholics Anonymous or the 12 steps. If you saw the most recent podcast I did with Rainey, he did not get a new freedom and a new happiness from 12 step. He was in and out for 20 years. So not everybody gets this sort of spiritual awakening or new freedom, new happiness, or the promises that are inside the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So if you didn't, that's fine. It's literally a religious conversion program. There's, to me, in my own perspective, especially going in, not having any religion at all and not wanting religion, I find it now in hindsight to be quite oppressive to be coerced into a religion. I don't find that to be freedom. Freedom is when you get to choose. I wasn't choosing to be religious. I was told if I didn't do it, I was going to die, right? So yeah. Let's see. Blue Butterfly is here in the house. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Blue Butterfly. And Blue Butterfly says, best thing from 2025 was your videos. That means a lot, and I really appreciate your contribution to what we've created here. And when I refer to my videos, I do so in we. I know maybe you think that's weird to talk about yourself in the plural, but when I say like, oh, we did a playlist on AA alternatives, like if I'm engaging with a troll and like leaving like, oh, here's the reasons why we did a playlist on yes, AA is a cult. Here's the first video in the playlist. And the reason why I say we is because I felt like it's been such a collaborative. Makes me a little emotional. That's surprising. I feel like it's been a collaborative effort because the comments have grown me so much, have evolved me so much. Just this morning, I got a comment that alerted me to that Lois's grandfather was a minister in Swede, I forget what it's called now. I have to like dig a little deeper, but I was looking into it, and that a lot of that spiritualism from her own family is what's infused into their spook rooms, Bill, the Ouija board, all that kind of stuff, like seeing spirits and all that kind of stuff. Tangent on a tangent. Anybody else drinking coffee and having tangent alerts, tangent vibes. But yeah, so specifically like Blue Butterfly, you suggested that I read the real AA. And even though you suggested that, I believe now my memory on everybody's comments from 8 months ago is not as clear as my memory on the most recent comments. I do have a fairly good memory, but I can't remember everybody's comments and everything. But I do know that Blue Butterfly recommended that I read the real AA, and I didn't read it until like recently, like December, right? Which is just last month, which is last week, yesterday. And so I really loved real AA. I don't know if you know about this or not. Let me know if you're in the Deprogram Lounge. What up for the Deprogram Loungers? So the Deprogram Lounge is my free community. All of my deprogramming content is free. And we have a group in there. We have a book club, a Deprogram book club, if you don't know about it. And this is the book for January is the Real AA. So next week we have our Deprogram Zoom. And in 2.5 weeks, we have our book club on this one. I definitely recommend the book. I'm going to do a video on this book by itself. This is for on more tangents here, guys. But yeah, let's keep going. Vic says, happy, healthy 2026. And Vic says, yeah, but they're only suggestions. Suggestions are pushed on you every day. Yeah, it's so funny when they say there's no control. It's only suggestions. And if you look into like the subconscious mind, and it's called auto suggestion, right? When programming the mind is called suggestion. It's like, Kate says, yes, reading the Real AA for Deprogramming Lounge book club are really a good one. So if you're watching on YouTube, then in the comments below, the very first link is for the Deprogram Lounge. If you want to join us, again, it is free. It is a community. There's a book club. There's resources. I made a deprogramming course at the beginning of last year, right before I ever started dissenting online, because I wanted, I felt like if I started talking about AA is harmful without having a solution, that wouldn't be right. I felt like that would be unethical to alert people of a problem without actually bridging them to a solution. So, and I also was afraid to talk about it on the internet. So I let myself balls to the wall, make an online course where I just recorded videos and spoke about deprogramming AA. I made a full 8-module course. The first half of the course is deprogramming. That is now free inside of the Deprogram Lounge. So I've put everything that I've ever done this past year, which has been a lot of videos, a lot of effort, a lot of research. It's all the deprogramming stuff is currently right now, everything, and plans for the future, just to keep it easy, accessible, free. So if you want that, I didn't know I was going to go into commercial, but commercial's over. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I'm really excited about that, because I'm like, if I look back on 2025, like that's what I'm really proud of. I'm really proud that I've created resources with your help, with your guidance, with you alerting me what to read and what to look into, to help all of us like in the mind fuckery of leaving AA, because it was so brutal for me. And I know it's brutal for a lot of you. So I feel really good about everything that's created. There is more to come. But I wanted to, y'all remember the promises from Alcoholics Anonymous? So inside Bill Wilson's promises that were, as far as I can tell, I don't have a copy of the first edition of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous that was published April 10th, 1939. I could not find a free PDF online. I think it's like, you have to buy it. That's part of their deal, right? It's like a classic or whatever, archived or historic, or however they positioned it in the AA World Service or whatever it's called. So as far as I can tell, the promises were inside the first edition, and they were not changed at all throughout any of the editions. Now, that's as far as I can tell, right? And so the promises start off, if we were painstaking about this phase of our development, right? I'm not going to read the actual promises. I don't want to trigger anybody, but within the actual promises in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous from 1939, it talks about we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. And because it's the new year and we are being new humans after leaving AA, I thought that would be a great topic for today. Blue Butterfly says, hate the promises. Yeah, Yeah. And if you know about sales, and Bill Wilson was a salesman and writing a sales letter, and the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, in my opinion, is a sales letter. He's selling us on his ideas as if they're facts. That's like one of my biggest like pet peeves now, is when people they state their opinions as facts. It's like one of the number one things the trollers do. Well, the number one thing a troller does, if you're an AA stepper and you're trolling on the internet, is to add hominem vibes, right? Attack the person, not the argument. The number two thing probably is that. Okay, Blue Butterfly says you should be proud of yourself. Yeah, I feel like it's a collection now. There's a collection and there's more I can do. Um, but I feel like we've hit it from a lot of the angles. We've busted a lot of the myths. We've looked at the origin mythology. It's so funny. Okay, here's a book I'm reading right now. Y'all know I love reading all the books. Okay, so I started reading this yesterday. It's called How Fascism Works, and it talks about the things I read. It talks about how, like, the origin myth and things. And that was also in the True Believer book. The True Believer book, they talk about origin myths. So we went deep into the origin myth of Alcoholics Anonymous, how it's not actually at all what was carried to me by my sponsor, or what was carried to me, the message that was carried to me or told to me in the meetings. And it's not what was exactly explicitly in the book. There's a whole nefarious beginnings. There's Frank Bookman. There's the Oxford group. So it's a little bit off. Yeah, the promises went against themselves. Okay, so I rewrote the promises. Yeah, we're gonna get into this. This is so I apologize if it's similar to Bill, but this is about the Bill shittery. So these are you ready for the promises of leaving Alcoholics Anonymous? Let me know if you want to hear the promises as rewritten by me yesterday and today. I thought this would be a fun vibe. Okay. The promises after leaving AA. If we are painstaking about deprogramming AA, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We may regret believing the AA baloney, and we will shut the door on the church basement. We will comprehend critical thinking, and we will know self-trust again. No matter how deep into the indoctrination we have gone, we will see how deprogramming liberates us. The mythology of the disease, defects, and spiritual malady will disappear. We will lose interest in bullshit and gain interest in thinking for ourselves. Self-betrayal will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of leaving the group and being exploited through free labor will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations without surrendering ourselves. We will suddenly realize that autonomy is doing for us what coercive control never could. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize when we choose agency over self-abandonment. Yep. Okay. So there's obviously more promises of leaving Alcoholics Anonymous. I just thought it would be fun to kind of like plug in like what our adventures are right now. And yeah, instead of traumatizing some people by reading the actual promises, because that was the indoctrination, right? The beginning of every meeting that I went to, probably, I can't say for sure because I went to meetings for 10 years. So I was in AA for 10 years and I left AA in 2020. But I'd say most of the meetings, if not all, we started the meeting off with the regular indoctrination sessions, right? And that includes reading the promises. This is what you get. And if you know about sales, and Bill was a salesman, and if you have a good program, you should sell it, right? But what we know about sales is that you make promises. There's a promise of the product that you're selling. And this product is AA religion. It's Bill's religion. So these are the promises that if you do his 12 steps to God, Alcoholics Anonymous 12 steps, you will have the new freedom, the new happiness, the insecurity. What is it? Yeah, I'm not going to go into all of his promises, but those are mine for the promises of deprogramming AA. Rick says, very nice rewrite of the promises. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, it was a vibe. Sounds fine to me. We got I love this from Eloise. Some people are saying the volume isn't working. Y'all hear me? Can you hear me? D says, let freedom ring 2026. Free at last from the cult religion. I want to hear him. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see if we have anything else. We have Cycle of Growth says, I love this. The promises of the cult of AA are like following a trail of jelly beans in a circle deep in the rainforest, hoping to find that ever elusive candy house. Love it. And we have Eloise saying, I always used to say, bitch, they might be at extravagant. That's so hilarious. Okay, let's look at a little more comments. Blue Butterfly says, nice. I would like a PDF if I can frame it and put it on my wall. Yeah, I'll post this. I'll post the promises. Maybe I'll post it in my YouTube posts section. You guys know there's like a post section in YouTube. It's not like a feed like Facebook, but you can post in there, right? And I'll post it if you're in Deprogram Lounge, the free community, which is linked in the first link below if you're on YouTube. I'll post it in there as well. And, you know, they can be edited, right? I just was coming up with it. I wrote it yesterday and then I like edited it this morning and kind of tweaked it to more like what made sense to me. But like the line here, if the very first line, if we are and this is not true. I'm not giving you like scientific proof. I'm being cheeky as fuck on New Year's Day with you, right? We're having a party here. So like, let's hold this loosely, right? I'm not making promises. You know, I actually had a sponsee who tattooed on her finger the promises. Did anybody get an AA tattoo? A lot of people got AA tattoos. Okay, so the very first line, if we are painstaking about deprogramming AA, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. I actually mean this. This is true for me. I don't mean this as a truth claim for everybody, but a lot of you guys know my story, but briefly, I spent the first year leaving AA deprogramming AA. I found the orange papers. I was reading the orange papers. I was studying modern science. I was like addiction science. And I was looking at all the things that I could find about addiction recovery. And the orange papers were huge. I was also branching out. I learned about something called ideological possession that really freed me. So I kind of went tangential into finding other areas like cult recovery, abuse. I was studying like narcissistic abuse and thinking about how that maps to what happened in AA. So I was studying all these things that are kind of related to AA because there was nothing clear. There was no clear roadmap for me to get myself out of AA. So I was kind of going like in different directions. And I got very liberated by doing that. I removed the fear with the help of therapy that to leave is to die, because I believed that for months after leaving AA. But I went through one by one all the beliefs of AA and I just kind of like was blowing them up, right? Okay, I'm not powerless. I haven't drank at that point for over 10 and a half years. So clearly I have some power. Do I believe that religion is the solution to alcohol addiction? No. Does science show that? No. Does spirituality help? Yeah, spirituality can help with anything. So sure. So I kind of went through and I thought about it all, but then I thought I was done. So I moved on and I didn't really think about AA that much anymore. I just kind of moved on and didn't talk about it and just kind of moved into, like, if you recall, my very first video on the internet talking about AA was I left AA after why I left AA after 10 years. And in that video, I talk about how I had like a quiet confidence. So I left AA, I did the deprogramming. I didn't really say anything to anybody. And then I had this quiet confidence of like, I know who I am. I'm not in a high control system anymore because I didn't think of it as a cult yet again. And I just kind of moved on. And then when I felt at 5 years after leaving AA, which was April, 2025, when I started dissenting, I thought I was done deprogramming. But more was revealed, party people. More was revealed. And so that's why this line really does speak true to me. If we are painstaking about deprogramming AA, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. I was amazed after my first year of deprogramming. And then this past year, oh my God, now I'm like, I was halfway through. I wasn't even halfway through. I didn't even know the origin mythology baloney. There was so much that I didn't know yet. And not that I think anybody needs to know all the things, but I know a lot of us really want to go deep into the new freedom after AA vibes. And so we do the research, right? We do read the books and things like that. Let's see what some of the comments are saying. Authentic says, Happy New Year to all the courageous deprogrammers. Feels like 2026 will be filled with more exponential deprogramming ahead. Love it. We have Vic says, I just joined the Bestie Club. Awesome. Welcome. Yeah, it's a vibe. I've basically spent the past year creating everything. I spent 2025 basically creating everything that I wish existed as far as deprogramming from Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've put it into Bestie Club, a deprogram lounge, basically, where in an order where I feel like it makes sense. So there's the online course, right? And then there's the escape kit is where I organize things from YouTube, videos from YouTube in order with additional downloadable things like journaling prompts or checklists or guides, so that's almost like an online course, but that's also all available on YouTube, but it's organized nicely. There's the community, the book club, the Zooms. There's lots of assets in there or resources in there. There's like an outside literature section, which I need to give a lot more attention to kind of put everything that we've, things like the orange papers, the books we've read and things like that. I wanted it to be all in one place, and I wanted it to be like visual. I love the orange papers, but I don't learn best by reading. I learn best by like video. So, or more visual, right? Maybe that's the autism, the ADHD. I don't know what it is, but that's just how I learn best. Maybe it's just my brain. Let's see. Vic says, my favorite thing is the people that get their sobriety date tattooed and then relapse. Yeah, I've seen that too. Ray says, so glad I found your channel. Great to have you here and vibing. Happy New Year to you. My sister is deep in AA cult. Yeah. It can be very hard. I was speaking to somebody recently who got some of their family members into AA, and now they've left, and their family members are in deep, and they feel a type of way about that. Yeah. Okay. David says, I totally love the promises as I'm sitting in my Jeep in the freshly fallen snow at the Connecticut River Park. Awesome. That sounds like a vibe. Happy New Year. I love that. Watching your podcast instead of being in the noon AA meeting with the Sober House. And then we have Eloise says, the orange papers and your pods have been a godsend excuse, the pun, since I chose to leave. My neurospicy brain needs all the info, facts, stats. So much AA bullshit to remove from self. Totally agree. Yeah. Ray says, I drank 4 years, went to, I think it's AA, so as AA for two, no success. I know why now, because it's a cult. Yeah, that's like the weirdest thing for me. One of the weirdest things, there's a lot of weird things, isn't there? But to realize that my perception, right? I don't know how it is, but this is my perception. And everyone is definitely entitled to have their own perception, right? My perception is that AA is a coercive control religion. It's a cult religion. It is not a recovery program. It is a religion masquerading as a recovery program. It is not designed around how to actually treat or deal with or heal from addiction using obviously there's no modern science in it. So it is not about the brain. It is not about how our bodies actually work. It is a religion that is being used to treat alcohol addiction. And interestingly enough, the stats on the success of AA, as far as some of the research I've read, are about the same as what's called spontaneous remission, meaning doing nothing. And if you look at the people who recover from addiction, most of them recover without treatment. So even the idea that we need treatment is like mass, like propaganda by AA, the idea that we need a treatment. And then the treatment industry grew out of that, right? I don't even know that I believe that it's necessary to have treatment for alcohol addiction as like as a standard, right? And also, I don't know why, well, I do know why, but it's kind of bananas. AA has an idea that medicated treatment is not okay. You have to go cold turkey, cold religious turkey, right? And so instead of doing a religious turkey, like y'all know, like I would have done naltrexone if I knew about it, which would have been Sinclair method and could have eased my brain out of the addiction to alcohol and help me moderate or maybe even eventually lose interest in it. But somebody was saying like an AA person, I don't know, my Facebook's been kind of a like a cesspool recently. It's like worse than TikTok, which is crazy. I didn't know Facebook can get like that. For some reason, Mark Zuckerberg is sending my videos out to like everybody, and everyone's home group is like all up on hundreds of comments on each video that are pretty bad. And this one woman is saying, like, I got 45 years sober. And that's another thing that they do is they start with it. The reason why their opinion is fact and more important than yours. I'm like, that's not how it works out here. Like your sobriety time doesn't mean that whatever you say is the truth. I don't buy that. I'm not I'm not surrendered to someone else's sobriety time, right? But she's talking about how Sinclair method doesn't count as recovery because it's medication. That's not real recovery. And I think that that's a very harmful attitude where you would discount a way to ease somebody out of alcohol use disorder as not recovery because it doesn't meet your standard. And so it's kind of shocking, right? I mean, not really, but it's kind of horrifying, maybe not shocking. Somebody with 45 years in AA is actively saying that is not recovery. That doesn't count as recovery. It's like, according to fucking who, man? Because in alcohol use disorder, and if you just look at alcohol use disorder, you can be recovered from alcohol use disorder and still drink alcohol. Just less than their, I don't know if it's arbitrary, but less than their number of drinks per week, like less than 7 for women or less than 10 for men or whatever. Not that I'm saying that anybody should drink or not drink, but it's just like the ideas that these people in AA have. It's all this bullshittery. And they're the ones that are speaking in meeting, that are speaking on social media. So they are promoting AA, not attracting it. They're not attracting AA through their, like, I don't know, spiritual selves. They are coercing people on dissenters' Facebook pages or wherever else, saying their ideas as facts. And so that is included in AA. It's not in the big book of AA, but that's included in AA. What these 45-year sober trolls say about, MAT doesn't count, medical assisted treatment. All right. So Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Okay, K Amazing says, what's your thoughts on no off switch? Maybe you've spoken before. Will you clarify that? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Kylie says, good to catch you live. Have had a rough morning. Sorry to hear it. Definitely think 12-step is dangerous for anyone, but definitely for autistic people. Yeah, especially if you don't know you're autistic, right? Because I was told all of it's alcoholism. So I was really confused. And I'm trying to pray away some of just like how I'm probably always going to be for life, right? I hold everything with the brain loosely because of neuroplasticity, but some things are kind of more or less set. There's wiggle room, but I don't think you can completely change all of your brain in reality. Rick says, now that's funny. A religious turkey. That's AA in a nutshell. Yeah, the abstinence purity bullshit. It's like, I think that's very harmful. And I would have been delighted to know that I could still drink. Just, I would take a pill and it would make me drink less. Like that would have been like so much easier, softer than paying all that money for rehab, leaving my life for a month, and then going to a cult religion for a decade. Jim says, some of the comments you are receiving, again, it's them destroying themselves from within. Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit shocking. So I just haven't been looking at comments recently because it's like quite toxic. I'm bummed that it's like under a post that I have because I don't want to expose anybody to that. But man, yeah. And then we have medication isn't recovery for disease and laughter. Yeah, they say that they say drugs aren't what I've seen. When I say they, it's the comments that I've seen that, oh, great, using drugs for sobriety. I'm like, yeah, but can we talk about how much LSD Bill did? Oh, wait, we're about to talk about because that's in my notes, all of Bill's LSD, because that's on the New Freedom, New Happiness vibes. We're going to get into that. I do have more notes. Let's see. Kate says the anti-medication stance of AA members infuriates me. It could have killed me. 100% agree with you on this. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Marina says they say, quote, meetings are my medicine. Yeah. Eloise says, if you're doing the very same thing and you claim as insanity, 45 years on, your system may have a problem. Yeah. And we have Ray says, AA wants to keep you broken. Another thing I had a problem with is they said we all lie. I was insulted, but I said nothing to them till much later into smaller groups. Yeah. There's that mythology that we're not constitutionally incapable of being honest with ourselves. And then even though it works for 5, maybe 10% of the people, probably 5% or less, that if it doesn't work for us, it's because we're not honest, not doing all of our amends. Yeah, some other baloney. Authentic LC says, it's just like religious extremism. Totally. Ray says, I like Ben Affleck's cure for alcoholism. They made up a word. He says the cure is suffering. He says the cure is suffering. I said that in a meeting and they laughed almost hysterically. I was surprised. I still don't know how. Kylie says, same. I didn't know I was autistic until 14 years of AA. Yeah, I found out when I left AA and I stopped doing all of the AA things that I had been doing, all the step work, the inventories, the pray about it, the like literally just the work, right? That's when I noticed that my brain is fundamentally different than most people around me. And that's when I was like, it is so different. It's fucking something different. Like, this isn't like, because I wasn't doing the daily reprieve. I wasn't doing the meetings. I wasn't doing all that stuff. And then that's when I started recognizing the patterns in my brain. And even having good pattern recognition was a thing. And that, yeah, then it fit. Now I know it fits with the description of autism and ADHD. Okay, I found it odd when I walked into those rooms how huge social media presence was. That was another big part of why I walked away, never returned. Yeah, they're not anonymous. It's so weird. It's like the whole thing is just so weird because I'm like, as far as the trolls, I don't want to spend too much time on them because it's quite toxic, but you're not on your side of the street. You're being harmful because you're literally using profanity at somebody who has a different perspective than you. You're not making amends, but you're obviously putting harm into the universe. You're not like packing into the stream of life. You're not seeking to do God's will. You're not practicing the principles in all of your affairs. Like, the entire idea of being like just so vile on the internet as an AA member, so publicly, you're breaking your own anonymity. Like, you're just so against what the program is about, in my understanding. Like, you're just like, it's like a laugh. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And Rob says, Happy New Year, Rob. The more time away from the fellowships, the more I see exactly how toxic it is. The covert and coercive control and gaslighting, 100%. All of it is terrifying, and it reminds me of escaping the narcissistic cult that my family of origin was until I left. Yeah, a lot of people say that. There is a module for all of you who don't know. Basically, like at Christmas, I was just like thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I want to give there's 2 parts of my deprogram course that I made last year. last year was yesterday. The first 4 modules are deprogramming AA deconstruction, and the next 4 modules are like reconstruction, like rebuilding your life. So I made everything deprogramming inside Deprogram Lounge totally free. That includes the course. And so includes the first 4 modules of the course, which are deprogramming. I want to read you what's in there if you haven't seen it yet, or if you want to go in because you're watching this. Again, the link to Deprogram Lounge is the first link below this video on YouTube. It's, if you can just go to sobrietybestie.com and also sign up for the lounge that way. But so module 3 is, I think it's module 4 is called Freedom from Manipulation. This is free inside the app. Can you see that? I'm just going to read you what it is. The very first lesson in module 4, Freedom from Manipulation, is called How AA is Like Narcissistic Abuse. This was so liberating for me to see. Blue Butterfly did request that I put this on YouTube, and I might grab it out of the course and put it on YouTube, but it's free inside the app. And then the next thing is it's recognizing narcissistic abuse tactics in AA. It's like a checklist that you can read through so you can start to see. For me, part of the new freedom of leaving AA and the new happiness, if you will, was recognizing abuse and being able to navigate that in real time, right? So I wanted to make sure, because when I left AA, I felt conned, scammed, played, like embarrassed, humiliated. And I wanted to make sure it never freaking happened to me again. So I was like, I need to really study abuse and control and manipulation so I understand the tactics, so I can recognize when somebody is using them on me so that I don't fall prey to it again, or that I'm less likely to fall prey to it. So seeing AA in the parallels with narcissistic abuse was very helpful for me. So yeah, that's in the course inside Deprogram Lounge. And if you guys don't know, if you're in the lounge or you're about to be, there's a search bar. You can type in narcissist, you can type in grief, you can type in AA history or whatever. You can type in the search bar and it'll bring up all the videos that are related to that. That's why it's like fun to organize in there. Okay. So here's a comment. My older sister is in AA, and sometimes she randomly says things that are not true at all, facts that she made up. Yeah. It's so interesting. The whole, and it's like AA is full of it, right? It's like bullshit, but presenting opinions as facts, as if they're facts. And it's kind of like, it's propaganda in a way, right? It's been repeated so many times that like our brains are washed, that our thoughts are reformed to believe that these opinions of our own or that we've heard of other people's are true, and they're not true. We're not examining them. Let's see. Kylie says, thanks. Do you mind if I boost your deprogramming courses at RCO I run in Bloomington, Indiana? We are working to fill a support gap for people who don't want 12-step. What's RCO? I'm sorry. Recovery Center? I don't know what that means. Yeah, you can tell anybody about Deprogram Lounge. It's for deprogramming from AA. It's not really like a get sober thing. It's like a get sober from AA thing, but it's for everybody. It's the resource I wish that I had it, that I never thought I would actually create, because I never wanted to talk about any of this stuff. But it's fucking brutal. Leaving AA. Blue Butterfly, I saw the narcissist video yesterday. Excellent. Cool. Yeah. And then a comment, it is designed to strip away critical thinking 100%. We're rewarded. It's so, like, when you see it, like, you can't unsee it. That's what a lot of us say. Like, when you see the control, when you see the system of AA, you can't unsee it. And so belonging, which is like a prime need of being a human, or like a core need, is if we need to be a part of the tribe so that we don't get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger or whatever, back when we were cave ladies and all that. So belonging to a tribe is linked to our survival, just in our genetically, in our DNA, however you want to like look at that. And so we are rewarded with belonging inside Alcoholics Anonymous when we abandon our own thoughts, when we abandon ourself. Literally, the 3rd step prayer is about getting, like, removing the bondage of self. Like, fuck off. What do you mean the bondage of self? Like, you want me to be like I don't know, like a parrot like a sheep, like a group think. So it's all about belonging is rewarded with group think inside AA. And so it goes really deep because we want to feel belonging, right? All right. If you were watching the replay, let us know in the comments what you were thinking. Let's continue a little bit. So, freedom in AA is often framed as freedom from alcohol, right? And we know now that we don't even have to be fully free from alcohol to be free from um, problematic drinking. A lot of people actually find that they can moderate their drinking, whether they're doing it with medication like naltrexone or whether they're just doing it on their own. A lot of us find now, I haven't had a drink since 2009, so this is not my experience, but I do hear from a lot of people, and I try to read all the comments. I don't always get notifications, except I haven't been reading comments on Facebook recently because I value my mental health. But I try to read all the YouTube comments, and I get a lot of DMs and emails. I don't reply to everything because there is just literally is not that much time in the day. But my vibe is that there are a lot of people who found freedom from their addiction, but they still do drink. And that could be various because it's very individual. Now, I don't know if everybody's going to be able to drink moderately. I don't necessarily believe that that's true. I think we got to figure it out for ourselves. I think healing why we drank in the first place or resolving the things that had us drinking in the first place, because I don't believe in this alcoholism thing that's in a parking lot doing push-ups. I believe that I drank. I know that I drank because my nervous system was dysregulated because I had been traumatized as a kid through with SA as a kid, right? And so my nervous system was dysregulated. And now I know because of autism and ADHD, I have social differences. So alcohol medicated my social differences. It made socializing easier for me. I was able to have friends and date and all of that. So I was kind of medicating in a way my neurodivergence and my trauma. So instead, if I can understand my neurodivergence and I could heal and resolve my trauma, then I'm not dysregulated. So then perhaps the drinking that I would do if I was going to choose to drink, including if I do it Sinclair method style or not, which is not a current choice of mine, but it wouldn't be the same as before because I'm not running from myself. I've addressed the core reasons why I drank in the first place. So I don't know. That's something that we all got to figure out. But there's freedom from addiction without needing to be abstinent, which is, I know that can be like feel dangerous to some people, but it's the reality for some people too. So I don't want to just speak that like my way is right, right? I'm abstinent, but that's not for everybody. And it might not be for me forever. I don't know. I can't read the future. I don't do magical thinking anymore. Okay. So, but freedom in AA is framed from freedom from alcohol. And then there's also a freedom from self, right? Like relieve me of the bondage of self in the third step prayer. So it's freedom from self. Self is positioned as the problem, bad, toxic, dangerous. Self-will, self-run riot, self-centered in the extreme, though we usually don't think so. So it's freedom from self. Go fuck you with that. Not you specifically, but I mean, Bill, like, what do you mean free from myself so I can be a slave for you? I don't want to be oppressed. I don't want to be repressed or suppressed. No, I want to be me. If I can't be myself, then who the hell am I going to be? Just like a free laborer exploited through Bill's religion? No, I don't want freedom from self. I can still be selfless, but not have to like abandon myself. Anyway, I digress. So, freedom also includes, when I was thinking about it, let me know what you think, freedom to think independently, freedom to change our beliefs, freedom to choose our own path, freedom to grow beyond one system. Freedom isn't just abstinence, and it might not even require abstinence for some. To me, it's agency. Freedom for me, just very like bottom line, is freedom is when we have a choice. I love that Viktor Frankl quote that says, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And sometimes we get stimulated and we have a reaction right away, right? But we can build up that space. And so in that space between the stimulus and the response lies our freedom and our power. I mean, that's something that I'm not quoting him exactly. I'm going it by recall, right? But I really love that idea that if I can be triggered, have a stimulus, and I could, the pausing when agitated, there is some there's some wisdom there, and then choose how I respond. If we're not even clear, like when we're in AA, we're not always choosing because we've been thought reformed, but to be able to have the choice, do I want to believe this? Not you have to believe this, otherwise you're going to die. And if you don't believe this, that's even more sign of your disease, because doubt in AA, at least for me specifically, was positioned as evidence of my made up disease that Bill decided I was sick, right? Okay, Kylie is saying, sorry, recovery community organization, autocorrect changed my last comment. Lol. Yeah, you can totally send them the deprogram course if you think it's relevant, or deprogram lounge if they want to be in a deprogramming space. Again, it's not specifically about getting sober, but it is about deprogramming. I do have other courses. There's one about anxiety. There's one about like emotions. It was kind of like my emotional sobriety journey and feeling comfortable in my skin. That one's called Liberated in Sober Skin. But all the deprogramming stuff is free, and I want to continue to build it. Like collab it with you guys. So like if you tell me what's missing in there, what you want more of, I have a list of videos that I want to make to keep making resources. And I want to make videos that you can give your therapist if you're in therapy, so that you don't have to educate your therapy on AA cult religion. They can maybe watch a video that explains it and then, you know, do their own research. Let's see. We got a comment. I'm glad so many people are here. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, Happy New Year. All right. But Blue Butterfly, no, the no off switch comment has to do with over drinking because of the learned helplessness. Oh, no off switch. That's right. Sorry, I wasn't connecting the dots on that first. That makes sense. Okay. My understanding of addiction is that alcohol addiction can get into our brain in like a more primitive center, right? And this is from reading the books of like Alan Carr, Easy Way, Rational Recovery and stuff. So I think of like the addiction, it's not so much 100% a conscious choice. It's not our disease doing push-ups, but there's a more primitive part of our brain that needs alcohol the way that we need food and water, that like our basic survival needs, right? So that we're not always choosing when that's happening. But I'm a little bit coffee today. That's weird. Coughing. So the no off switch, I mean, if I think about my own personal experience, there were times when, you know, I didn't want an off switch. If I'm really honest, like I'm thinking about it right now. I remember I was telling someone like, I black out all the time. I hate it. And they're like, and I said, it's because the bartender makes my drinks too strong. And they're like, we'll only get one drink. So no matter how strong they make the drink, it's just one. And I was like, I don't just want one drink though. Or my psychiatrist said, why don't you, you know, every second and third drink, you know, put 2 glasses of water between each drink so you space out your drinks. And I was like, I don't want to drink that much water. I never wanted to. So I think it has to come down to desire too. Like I didn't want to get sober. I didn't want to slow down my drinking. So I think if you don't have the desire, I didn't want an off, like I didn't want an off switch. I just wanted to like not be in, and not have the consequences of my drinking, you know, like not lose like an expensive cell phone or not remember what happened or, you know. So the off switch, I think part of it, okay, so Blue Butterfly is saying has to do with over drinking because of learned helplessness. When we believe that we have no power, we are less likely to exert our power. I think that's just like how the brain works, right? If you're told over and over and over again one thing, then you're going to start to see the world through that lens. So it's like the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. So placebo is the added effect of psychologically believing in the cure or the pill, the sugar pill or whatever, and then getting effective at because of the power of the mind. And then the nocebo, if you think something is not going to work, then there's an added effect of it, the opposite direction too. So if you're constantly told that you have no power and that you have an allergy, this made up freaking allergy, and that if you drink, then you have no off switch and you're going to keep drinking, you're more likely to keep drinking. I've had a lot of people actually say in the DMs, because not everybody wants to put comments on the internet. I've had a lot of DMs where people have said that they think that specific part of the ideology along with it works if you work it, but the no off switch or you're powerless is actually what was actually killing them and making them have very bad relapses, and then also making them want to and getting very close to taking their own lives. It's really fucked up. Yeah, I need to make a video about how the ideology itself is extremely harmful. I think that would be a very helpful video to make. I think that if I, at any point in any number of drinks in any night, if I was given a case, now remember there was this one guy, I forget his name now, he talked about having a bus that said AA is a cult or whatever it was, AA is dangerous. If he put down $5 million in front of you and said, don't drink for 24 hours, I think that no matter how many drinks I had, whether I was sober, had one drink, had 5 drinks, no matter what it was, I think if somebody put down a case and said, I'll give you $5 million if you don't drink for 24 hours, I think I could not fucking drink for 24 hours. Like, I really just think that I would find a way to like not have any more drinks with sufficient motivation, with sufficient reason, you know, that's what I think. I'm just one person. Okay. Ray says, I agree that there are reasons why we drink or drink once we figure that out. It's all good again. Yeah. Makes sense to me. And then Sobriety Bestie, my therapist loves your channel. Oh, great. Yeah. I don't feel that it's fair that we have to educate our therapists on things, you know. It would be nice if there was trainings that existed. So I hope to lean into a little bit more of that, be a little strategic in some content that I create that's targeted towards a broader audience, not necessarily people who lived AA and are deprogramming, but the people that help us get out too, so that therapists can like maybe a playlist for therapists or something that would be relevant for a deprogrammer, but also specifically like, here's literally what the problem is broken out. Let's see. A slave. Yeah, a slave to alcohol, then a slave to Alcoholics Anonymous. Kate says, Kirsten, you are friends with people in AA. Do you think they can see you outside of the AA lens? This was mentioned with Tara in the last episode. I think only one person that I know that's inside AA still called me after I first dissented in April 2025 and said, she doesn't care. She's still my friend. She'll always love me. We haven't spoken since. But we weren't speaking a lot before that anyways. She lives far from me, you know. We used to live in the same area. We were both in the cult within the cult in San Diego for a while. So I don't doubt that she doesn't still think wouldn't still want to be friendly with me, but I don't have friends that are still in AA. So I'm not sure. The friends that I have from AA are ones that have also left. The people that were in AA, they have slowly blocked me on Facebook or unfriended me or try to get me back into AA first. But I don't have anybody in my life who is like friendly with me who is still in AA. So maybe I misspoke in that last video. And if I did, I apologize for that. Rick says, I like the video idea to help my therapist understand the cult, although it was cathartic explaining the AA cult to her. A video is a superb idea. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. We have Kylie says, yes, I think Bill W. was projecting his own narcissistic personality disorder onto everyone who had a substance use disorder, but called it spiritual malady. The root of his trouble could have been selfishness and self-seeking, but it's wild to project that onto everybody. Totally. That's like if I'm like, everybody's autistic and ADHD, and here's the solution, and it's related to drinking, and here's the solution for it. But I say it under the lens of my own understanding of my own brain as a non-scientist, as a salesman, as what Bill was. And yeah, it's so bananas when we really think about it. Let's see. But then the point about projecting his own narcissistic personality disorder onto everyone. Yeah. I don't even like the term narcissist or narcissist, calling people narcissists at all. I do think it's helpful for context, but I just don't even like labels really. And I don't like putting people in them, but I really do get what that it points to. And I think Bill had an extremely large ego because if you I was just reading this morning, as you do, I was reading from this book, The Writing of the Big Book, which is written by an he's still an AA true believer. So I don't necessarily recommend reading this. It's quite big. I wanted to see in here what he said about the promises as I was like preparing my notes for you guys. And he doesn't say anything about the writing of the promises at all in here, even though this is about writing the big book. He doesn't talk about that. But what he does talk about is how Bill had a really big ego, obviously. And that Bill kept saying over and over and over again that it's about reducing the ego is vital in order to stay sober. And the way to do that is to get God centered, essentially. So the entire thing is about God because Bill had a big ego. And then telling everybody they need to get God to get sober. I'd say that's pretty egoic. It's very ironic, very narcissistic indeed. So thank you for bringing that up. Therapists need cult training. Yeah, Blue Butterfly, totally. Marina says, I am happy to start the new year here. Me too. Okay, so let's continue on. So Bill's, like all good sales letters, right? I'd say most good sales letters have promises. They're promising you something. There's a promise. They want to be known for something. So Bill's sales letters, the promises, you know, if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we're going to be halfway through and it goes down. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. So Bill, the promises, they're known as also the 9th step promises, right? So these are the promises you get by working the steps, but also by doing your amends, by doing your 9th step in 12 step or in Alcoholics Anonymous. So these promises do not include any information at all about the fact, and we're going to get into this deeper, the Bill was fucking depressed. Bueller? Can I get a fucking Bueller? Because I feel like I'm always saying that, the Bueller thing with AA, because it's kind of like, what? Bill, why are you promising us a new happiness when you can't get the fuck out of bed? Your steps work, Bill? Why are you depressed? Don't promise us a new happiness if you're not living it. So for me, I'm kind of like, what the fuckery bullshit is that? If you are not living what you are preaching, maybe what you are preaching isn't livable. Like, what do you mean? You should at least be living the promises that you're promising. If you developed a method, which he didn't, he took it from the Oxford group. But if you are selling a program that has a result, shouldn't you be living an example of that result? That's like if I was still sponsoring people and going to AA, but I'm talking about deprogramming, but I'm still actively speaking in meetings on the speaker circuit. I'm speaking in Akron as like the lead speaker, but I'm talking about deprogramming. It's like, where's the integrity? Okay, so there's that one. We're going to go further into that. But Bill's documented depression is not included in the promises at all. We're going to promise that you can't get out of bed for a fucking decade. I need to say, I'm not making fun of his mental health. I'm just pointing out the irony in what he's promising us when Bill was struggling so much. It's not fair. It's dangerous to promise that your religion is going to get us out of these things that we're dealing with, but you're not even out of them. I don't think that's cool. Okay. Also, we didn't have as much stats in 1938 when the promises were written about relapse rates, relapse with AA, relapse without AA, harm reduction. Neuroscience wasn't developed to where it is today. Trauma science wasn't developed. We weren't really talking about trauma then. The first trauma they were talking about, right? PTSD was like shell shock and war. So we didn't know about childhood trauma. We didn't know about ACE scores, adverse childhood experiences. Have you all heard of those? Bill apparently had 6 on the ACEs, 6 things in his childhood. I think both of his parents left him, abandoned him. So he had his own traumas, right? Neurodivergence wasn't understood. Autism, ADHD, those weren't understood the way they are today, or other brain neurological differences. Addiction medicine has evolved. Dr. Sinclair's work was in the 1950s. the FDA of America, of the USA, approved naltrexone, which is the Sinclair method medication, in 1994. I was just looking into Australia because we have a lot of Australian viewers here. And the naltrexone, which is Sinclair method medicine, was approved in Australia, I think around 2008, 2010 something, but became more mainstream in 2014 in Australia. So none of this was known when Bill wrote his promises about his religion for sobriety and recovery. Oh, we got a lot of comments. Yeah, we got a comment. AA is horrible for a person who has PTSD. Yeah, and remember, Bill, wasn't he a veteran? You know, I'm sure he had a lot of PTSD, right? We have a comment here. Bonnie says, yes, he should. He was a hypocrite. Yeah. Eloise says, the Joe and Charlie tapes say it. They say Bill was a salesman, and they all laugh. Like, how did I just breeze through this? Yeah. Marina says it's a crab in a bucket. Totally. So for anybody who doesn't know the crab in a bucket metaphor, supposedly, I've never tried this, but the phenomenon is if you have a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one tries to crawl out and escape, the other ones will pull them back down in. That's kind of like what it's like leaving a perfect analogy. So you start to crawl out of the bucket, and then if you say anything, or if they notice, because you're not at the meetings or you're not, going to your sponsor's house or whatever, they try to pull you back in. The control, like what I've noticed, the pattern is like a lot of them, and I don't mean the AA trolls, I mean people that like supposedly like care about you, right? So they're kind, and then they're kind with control, and then they're just controlling. That's what I've noticed. I call it kind bombing. Like we've heard of love bombing, right? Love bombing is what happens when you first get to AA. You get all the phone numbers, you get like, they give you rides places, they give you literature, maybe they give you time, they give you friendship, they give you like whatever. So we get love bombed when we get to AA. A lot of us do. That's part of like the cult indoctrination. And then when we leave and talk about it, we get kind bombed, is what I've noticed. So, oh, hey, yeah, I've doubted it too. I get it. And then it's like, maybe you should try my meeting. My meeting is different. So now it's like kind with control. And then it's kind of like all control. You really should stop talking on the internet. And then it's like, boom, unfriend, block. So it's kind. So I call it kind bombing because it's not sincere. Just like love bombing is not really love. Kind bombing is not really kind. It's kind. Then it's to edge you in, like they do inch by inch by inch by inch. Kind control, control, block, shun, you're out. That's what I've seen, at least. Bonnie says, do you believe neural pathways change after leaving AA? 100% neural pathways change every day, all the time. Our brain is always changing. It's changing with our thoughts. It's changing with our feelings. It's changing with what we read. It's changing with what we think about. Our perception's changing. It's changing with our spiritual awakenings. So our brain's always changing, right? And it's the basic principles, or two of the basic principles of neuroplasticity of our brain changing are, if it fires together, it wires together, right? We've probably all heard this. So that means the more you do something, the more you're creating that neural pathway in your brain. And then there's the use it or lose it principle. So if you're not using that thing in your brain, you might lose it. Now, we don't always lose it, because I can think about, if I think right now, it's like, all right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with the brand new edition, right? I can think about a song that I know from the 90s and I can sing all the freaking lyrics on it. You know what I mean? But so use it or lose it. I'm not using that, but that's in my memory, these songs from the 90s. So yeah, there you go. A little Vanilla Ice to spice up the morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. So do we lose? I guess the question is, do we lose our addiction pathways? Is that what you meant and were implying by that? So the question was, do you think neural pathways change after leaving? Why I really like naltrexone and the Sinclair method is because the science that I've read about it show that we do unlearn, we learn the pattern of addiction because we're drinking alcohol and we're getting rewarded inside of our brain through the opioid receptors. And naltrexone covers those receptors so that when we drink, we are not rewarded, or at least much of the reward is blocked off. So we're not getting that paired linking, the association of alcohol and the reward. So we unlearn that. It's just like Pavlov and the dog and the saliva and the food. Pavlov rings the bell enough while he associates the bell with the food for the dog salivates. But eventually he rings the bell and the dog salivates because he's associated the food and the bell with, or the bell with foods coming. But eventually, if you keep ringing the bell, he unassociates. He unlearns that the bell means food's coming, so he no longer salivates. So we can unlearn the alcohol addiction in our brain through naltrexone because it blocks the reward pathways. It's like a Pavlovian kind of a vibe. But I also think some of the learning of the addiction naturally recovers. I don't know if all of it does, and I don't know if it's for all of us. But there is a use it or lose it principle. But again, I just blasted some Vanilla Ice from the 90s, right? Rolling 5.0. So yeah, that's why I wish I had done Sinclair method so that I would have medically unlearned alcohol addiction in my brain so that I would have gone from the pickle to the cucumber and would currently be a cucumber. I don't know if I'm currently a cucumber. I don't know if I drank right now, if I would still have that addiction pathway in my brain strong and what would happen. I don't know. I don't know that it's known for all of us, but I do know that if I drink with Sinclair method, it's going to reduce the reward pathway and will unlearn it in my brain. So there is like when the big book talks about maybe science can one day turn an alcoholic into a normal drinker, although I don't believe in alcoholic, but you know what I mean. Science hasn't discovered that, but may one day do so. They have. It's called Sinclair method. Let's see. Evolving One says the conditional friendships are so hurtful and really triggering, especially for those of us who have trauma around rejection or feelings of not being good enough. Totally. I knew that I could be myself my first 2 years of sobriety, first 2.5 years. But then after that, I can be really honest and I can be like a hot mess in the rooms. But at a certain point in time, I had to be carrying the message. I could no longer be the mess. I had to be the messenger. And then that meant I had to get out of self. I had to show up for other people. So Kirsten couldn't be involved. So I'm not having a genuine connection because I'm only being there for other people. I'm only speaking for other people. I'm not just being myself. Ray says, my neuro pathways are changing right now. Listening to this information helps a great deal. Yeah, totally. I had somebody tell me yesterday that they listened to my playlists on YouTube like multiple times because it's helping them deprogram from things. Now, I'm like that. I mean, it's kind of like an autism thing too. It's like you kind of like the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe you watch the same show, maybe listen to the same music. I have one soundtrack on YouTube from 2016 that I've listened to, I guess for now it's 2026, I guess for 10 years now. I've probably listened to it hundreds, probably thousands of times. And it's because I know from my brain, because I know it, there's no new surprises. So I put it on and I can kind of transcend it in a way and just get a lot of work done or a lot of cleaning done. It kind of grounds me. And I just like the repetition of it and the familiarity of it. Yeah. Bonnie says, I had one drink of wine at a senior center near me 2 years ago after becoming sober. Only one, none ever since. I'm 3 years sober now. Harry says, I study your playlist. Yeah, I try to make them I really strategically thought about the playlists, about the different angles to hit. Like some people really love the culty comment ones the best, where we're deconstructing comments in the moment. And some people like the leaving AA conversations best. Everyone's going to vibe in a different way. And there's also different phases of our own deprogramming journey. So I try to make it just a kind of playlist with a lot of different ways. And then I liked having done those videos with Bernie, Burn the Stigma. She smokes pot. maybe every day. I don't know. I've never asked her. But so she's not sober, but she is deconstructing AA ideology. A lot of y'all don't want to be abstinent, and that's totally legit. Now, I am, and maybe some of you want that and you want to actually hear from somebody who is. Well, that's what I'm offering right now. That's my story. But then I'm also interviewing all different kinds of people and looking at different angles. And then a lot of the videos that I've done in the playlist are like reactions to comments I get from steppers. They're like, it's AA is nothing like Scientology. I'm like, what a great video. So I made a video like how AA is like Scientology. So there's so many different angles that we can look at. Let's see. Okay. So now I want to talk about, was Bill Wilson actually free? Was Bill Wilson living the promises that he wrote in 1938? Because then the big book went to the publisher, I believe, the first or second week of January 1939. So Bill Wilson, quote, collapsed into depression. Now, depending upon where you look, it's going to say different things. So some sources say around 1944 to 1946, or the 1940s to 1953. He had ongoing emotional lows for nearly a decade. Other sources say 4 decades. Then we know, well, let's keep in mind a timeline here. The big book was published in 1939, edition 1. Edition 2 was published in 1955. We know that Bill Wilson did LSD for the first time the year after the second edition of the big book was published. So 1955, big book edition 2 comes out. 1956, Bill goes to LA Veterans Center to do LSD, medicated as like with doctors, right? So it wasn't just, well, later on, it looks like he was doing them in New York, like at his home with a bunch of other people. There was a whole crew, of LSD crew. I found that out this morning. I'm like today years old when I found out that Bill had like an LSD crew in New York. I'm like, really? The more I dig, the more I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, Bill? I mean, I'm all for Bill doing LSD and exploring his spirituality, looking for relief for his depression. I am actually all about that. But just then what's with the mythology? Let's just be honest. I thought it was about rigorous honesty. How about it's like rigorous mythology? Is that what it is? Like, what the fuck? Okay. So Bill Wilson, this is not controversial. Bill Wilson was notoriously depressed. It's just about how long was he depressed, right? So on August 29th, 1956, Bill Wilson does LSD at the Veterans Center in Los Angeles, I believe with Atticus Huxley. And that was like psychedelic assisted psychotherapy of the time. LSD was legal at that time. He was still depressed in 1956 when he did LSD. He was still depressed, even though the promises were just in the second edition. Again, writing the promises. A year earlier, he's publishing the promises again, but his depression's leading him to take LSD. What the fuckery, Bill shittery is that? So he may have, and he took more LSD through the 50s and maybe even the early 60s. I love, honestly, like, I feel for him because he obviously had a lot of mental health issues. I mean, who hasn't, right? But like, he had a lot going on. And I think it was brilliant of him to explore psychedelics for LSD. One of the stats I read was that LSD was helping 15% of people who had alcohol addiction get sober. And we know AA is like 5%, right? So it actually, LSD at that time, and those studies in the 50s or 60s, whenever that was actually helping more people than AA is, than religion. Because they were having the psychic change, right? The spiritual experience that Bill's saying. And interestingly enough, Bill had his spiritual experience on belladonna, on hallucinogens, right? At the town's hospital. So Bill had his spiritual experience that he said you have to get sober, but he had it on hallucinogens. Then he's depressed and he's struggling. So he goes and takes more hallucinogens, LSD, to hopefully have another spiritual experience to like reboot him or whatever, which I don't think is a bad idea. It's just not what you're preaching. So you're preaching that your religious steps are going to give you this spiritual experience, this new freedom and the new happiness. And while you're literally republishing your freaking book saying, I'm promising you a new happiness, you're literally collapsed in bed, depressed. Can you just shut the fuck up? Like, if it's not true, don't sell us on it. Like, but honestly, I don't think it's Bill's fault, to be like totally honest. I think you can't get the monster back in the cage, kind of a thing. The cult took over. I don't think he could control it. After a certain period of time, the cult had its own momentum. I don't know if he could have stopped that freight train. Let me know what you think. But it's like, how much at fault was he? Because he was like a pioneer, kind of, in a way. Like, I'll try LSD, I'll do it for my depression. And maybe that kept him alive, right? Maybe he got some relief from it and that helped him like get through his depression a little bit, or at least lift some of the burden a bit. So here's a quote actually from Bill's first LSD experience. I am certain that the LSD experience has helped me very much. I find myself with a heightened color perception and an appreciation of beauty almost destroyed by my years of depression. The sensation that the partition between here and there has become very thin is constantly with me. That was Bill Wilson in a letter to Gerald Hurd. So I love that he did that. I love that he was trying to figure out a way that he can travel better. I just do not love that he's also publishing a second edition of his book where he's promising a new happiness when he is like bedridden with depression. It's not cool, because what's happening to the other people? God. How many people, how many lives has that lie taken? That's what I think. That's what I wonder. He's promising a new happiness and a new freedom, and it's not working for him. It's like, you're full of shit. How many people are not realizing the reality of Bill's lying, in bed depressed, lying about the promises that he's not living? And I'm not saying that the promises didn't work for everybody. I'm saying they literally didn't work for Bill, and he's pushing them and publishing them, right? So if they're not even working for you, where are you even saying that? Because it says they will always materialize if we work for them. That's the last line of the promises. They will always materialize if we work for them. Were you not working for them, Bill? Or is it just bullshit? Because what about the people that believe it works if you work it? What if the people who believe they will always materialize if you work for them? And if they're not materializing, they're not living the promises, they're not getting them. How many of those people were suffering from their mental health issues that were not all alcoholism, that weren't alcoholism at all? How many of those people are no longer alive because they believed the lies that Bill said in his sales letter, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous? And we can't even talk about this without having hundreds of unhinged motherfuckers trolling the shit out of us on the internet. But people are literally dying because of this bullshit. Okay, I should stop. I went off on a little bit. If you want to know how I really feel, it's not cool. What about some people get these promises? And if you don't, try something else, like LSD, like I did. Why can't you just fucking tell the truth? Okay, I'm gonna like reel it in. Whew, whew, whew. Some of this stuff I feel very, very deeply. I'm gonna see what you guys think. Kate says, my feeling is that Bill was managed by the cult, including on his deathbed while they refused to give him a drink. I would have given Bill a drink on his deathbed. Totally. I agree. The cult had its own momentum. Marty Mann, for example. Yeah. Bonnie says, the outpatient rehab I went to for 6 months used CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It worked for me. No AA. AA seemed wonky to me. Yeah. Jim says, just flowery words, bit woo-woo that don't actually mean sense. Bill just a product of the time, and maybe he needed therapy. Yeah. Andrea says, if he was so into God, why do seances and Ouija boards still searching? Yeah, in my opinion, great question. Then we have, he's a salesman or artist at selling lies. I'm not surprised. Totally. Ray says, cognitive behavioral therapy is awesome. I've done it myself and plan on continuing to do so going forward. Yeah. Bob says, all the extracurriculars screwing because he's a big man helped probably. Yeah. So if you mean like literally like the 13th step and stuff, they had something called the Founders Watch for Bill, right? The Founders Watch because he's the founder of AA, and watch because they need to watch him because he keeps having sex with all the newcomers. Apparently, that's allegedly what I heard. But there was something called the Founders Watch. Jim says it definitely promised the rehab industry with more clients and money. Yeah, and someone's agreeing, sadly but true. Amen, amen. And then we have, no, it is not cool. Thank you, sobriety bestie. Yeah, we got to just be able to say it. You know, it's so dangerous when a group won't even let you talk about the harm in the group without like abusing you. And I'm not a victim here. I'm actively talking about this. I know that I'm going to get pushback, but it's just so crazy. It's like, we're not allowed to talk about the harm in a group without being abused. Like, can you see how that doesn't sound right? Do you realize that safe groups want feedback, all feedback, including criticism? There's nothing safe about this. If you can't even talk about the harm without getting abused, like, we got a problem. Andrew says, people need options. The promises never came true for me. I was further traumatized by AA, shamed for not getting it. Yeah. And if you're watching the replay, let us know what's coming up for you as well. Jim says, Rainey said it perfectly. With beliefs come the symptoms, thinking, and you need forever cure for a non-existent disease. Totally. Marina says, in my opinion, the promises are a repackage of the American dream. Follow our steps and you'll be happy and rich. Totally. Yeah. And then we have, what concerns me on New Year's Day is how many people will walk away from the AA New Year's party in a worse place. Yeah. So it's like a rich conversation, right? This new freedom and new happiness. And yeah, so I'm going to look at the promises again that I wrote for Deprogramming AA. So we will comprehend critical thinking and we will know self-trust again. That to me feels like the vibe of what we're doing here. No matter how deep into indoctrination we have gone, we will see how deprogramming liberates us. Yep. Fear of leaving the group and being exploited through free labor will leave us. I didn't even realize I had been exploiting myself through AA indoctrination for all that time. I mean, I at least spent 10 hours a week in AA for 10 and a half years, if not 20 some weeks, or even, you know, more if you're going to conferences or whatever. A lot of people, it's 15 hours. Some people weren't that involved. And then you're doing service. And even if you're just making coffee or whatever, it's like all this service, like the coercion is that service keeps you sober, but no, service keeps the system perpetuating. Like they bake it all in there that like, and then the whole one alcoholic helping another, which feels good when you first hear about it, right? And you can relate to somebody who has the same lived experience and you maybe more than a professional who doesn't, but like a man can deliver a baby. You don't have to have the experience to be able to help with something. Like there's a certain empathy, you know, when you have been through it, but the one alcoholic helping another is another way of saying professionals are not required and don't go to professional, right? There's so much that's like baked into it. So the promises of leaving AA are they will always materialize when we choose agency over self-abandonment. That's the big one for me, is realizing how much AA was self-abandonment. Constant self-abandonment. Like, the less I show up, the more I take Kirsten's thoughts, Kirsten's personality, Kirsten's dreams, Kirsten's needs out of the equation and show up just to be of service, just to carry a message, just to do the work, just to, like, perpetuate and recruit and evangelize and proselytize, right? Then the more I was rewarded with, um, a feeling of community, a feeling of wellness, I guess, a feeling of being a part of something. And I just don't feel like self-abandonment is the vibe anymore. And yeah, I don't feel like it's healthy either. I still believe in service, but service because you choose to, not because you have to, not because you're told you're going to die if you don't do it. Mags says, sometimes I feel bad for Bill that he didn't get the help he needed, but I'm learning it's not just the group to blame, but Bill himself and continuing the AA mission by publishing the second edition, etc. Yeah, my heart goes out to anybody who's depressed. I mean, it's brutal. I've never been long-term depressed, but I have had depressed periods of my life. I actually went through a bit of a depression when I left AA, where I had some dark, depressive, scary thoughts in my head. And I don't wish that on anybody. I don't make light of it either. It's brutal, but don't sell us on a happiness plan that you have when you're depressed. It's not okay. Like, that's not okay. It's just you're a con man. If it worked, why isn't it working for you? And if it did work for him, it doesn't even mean that it works, but the fact that it didn't work for him speaks to a lack of integrity in the entire fucking thing. Again, I think that the beast was out of the cage and he couldn't get it back in. I don't think he had control anymore at a certain point. I don't think people would let him. People didn't want to even talk about the fact that he was doing LSD, and they still won't look at that. They'll literally say that Sinclair method is not recovery because there's medication, but Bill was doing medication. Have you forgot about your fucking cult leader? Sorry, I'm swearing. Cheers. Okay, we have Bonnie saying, I don't feel sorry for Bill. Evolving says Bill was a puppet. The Rockefellers and alcohol industry are the true creators of AA. Yeah. Steven says, does it make me arrogant that I feel like they must not be very spiritually fit if they still have to live in their rooms? No, I think it's true. It's the dependency is kind of like an odd thing. Like I mean, I think there's a lot of definitions of spirituality, right? And what spiritually fit means. And I would take it to mean for me, like kind of like nourishing my spirit. And so that could happen through a walk in nature. That could happen through connection. It could happen through petting a dog I love, right? It can happen through a lot of different ways where I'm kind of like maybe out of my mind and into kind of more of my actual spirit. And then what do I make up rituals about that? Or what do I think about the spirit like world? Do I think that I don't know, things of the spirit in general. But I don't think what I think it is I think it's like another addiction. I think Alcoholics Anonymous is like an addiction. You need it every day. You need a daily reprieve. It's a medication in a way, like a self-medication. It's not a solution. In fact, they say it's forever, right? They say it's a forever recovery model. So I don't think that recovery is a forever thing, and I don't think addiction recovery is forever. Now, if somebody wants to be in recovery forever, that's great. Everyone has to make their own decision. But no, I don't think that that's arrogant. I think there's a difference between clarity and arrogance, right? I don't think if you wear a cast on a broken leg forever, I don't think it's arrogant to say that's not healed. That's not the end point. I think it's just like it's not arrogant to say if I drop this pen, gravity's going to catch it. Some things are just like clarity, right? I think this sounds, I don't know. To me, it sounds like clarity. I mean, I got to watch my arrogance sometimes too. I definitely have arrogance. It's not a character defect. It's part of being fucking human. But I got to make sure that I check myself a little bit. Let's see. Evolving says Bill was a pep at the. Oh, I already read that one. Mag says the monkey was out the window. That's so funny. Like the beast is out of the cage. The monkey's out the window. So I heard, you know how like in America and even in Indonesia, we said that the disease, this fake disease, is in the parking lot doing push-ups, right? Meaning it's getting stronger even when you're sober. It wants you dead sober. But I heard from people in the UK that their phrase is the monkey is out the window. Like the disease is in the parking lot, the monkey out the window wants you dead, or the monkey out the window is getting stronger, or something like that. So yeah, the monkey out the window. Andrea says, because AA is not about recovery, it is about AA furthering the cult. Yep. And I agree, Rockefeller, they monopolize the medical industry too. Yeah, that's a video that I want to make as well, is the monopolization of 12-step ideology into like the recovery stuff. There's a lot of interesting things out there about that. Let's see. Matt says, they say no monopoly on spirituality, but delegitimize all other forms of spirituality. True, totally. Let's see. Super says, bullshit keeps us in a constant state of guilt. Yeah, the guilt is relentless, isn't it? That you're not working it hard enough. Totally. Any lengths, you have to go to any lengths. You have to always say yes. Okay, so if we're going to talk about New Year's vibes, and also, you guys, like, the way that I can tell like which videos you like is I can look at a really easy way is to look at how many likes or like hearts are on that thumbs up or on that video. So if you ever enjoy a video, feel free if you want to give it like a thumbs up or a heart or like whatever, depending upon where you're watching it, because then I get a feel for what more content you like. Do you like the live streams? Do you like the interviews? Do you like the ones that are like healing, like the grieving AA playlist? And then you can go through the emotional stuff with the journaling work. So every time you like a video, then it gives me an indicator of like what you want to see more of. It's like a vote for what I should make more of, right? So it's helpful for me to see at least. I want to talk about the new year. Happy New Year. So I mean, one of the best parts of coming out of Alcoholics Anonymous is getting to reclaim ourself, is to be ourself again, to not abandon ourself. And so when we get back into the identity that we want to choose for ourselves, after having the identity of I'm an alcoholic, which you may still choose. I don't choose that anymore. So what's your identity? What's your purpose? What are your hobbies outside of AA? Because my hobby was like sponsoring and reading the fucking big book, right? Did you guys see the interview with Lily where she's like, my hobby was AA? I'm like, yeah, that was like a kind of me too. So my question is, if you want to answer this in the comments, that would be a vibe or just something to consider. Who are you becoming this year? Who do you want to become this year? You get to choose. You get to choose. You don't have to be a forever recovery, you don't have to be in forevery. You can choose that if you want to, but the point is that we get to choose. So who do you want to become this year? So if I really look at like 2025, my word of the year in hindsight, I didn't pick that word from January 1st last year, but my word for last year is either deprogram or deconstruct, kind of same thing, right? So my word for 2025, when I look back, was deprogram. That was what my entire 2025 was about, was deprogramming, but it was like deprogramming with you. It was deprogramming online, deprogramming out loud. So it was like a collab, a deprogram with all the people. I got to meet a lot of people and have them as guests on my podcast. I see Josh just popped on. It was great. Josh was one of my very first interviews. If you guys saw the episode with Josh last, Green Man. Happy New Year, Kirsten. AA is narcissistic abuse, 100. Coming off 20 years of emotional abuse from a covert malignant narcissist spouse, and she weaponized 12 steps. She uses them as constant fuel. So many of us really see the parallels between narcissistic abuse and Alcoholics Anonymous. And Josh, again, I'm really sorry that that was your experience. Glad you are in a better place now, healing, evolving, and rocking out on Team Freedom. Okay. Steven says, had a blast playing good rock and roll with lit people, stone cold sober, lol. Awesome. Blue Butterfly says, I want to become the best version of myself in 2026. Love it. Love the vibes. Yeah. Bonnie says, becoming a fully functional person at peace with myself and others. Yeah. You know, it's like I wrote down, it's funny, before I started dissenting, and I have to put them, I don't know if you guys know about object permanency and like neurodivergence, like ADHD and stuff. I have a big bulletin board over here and I like post things on it that I need to like read frequently. So I had a list of all the things that I wanted to work through last year. And it's all it was like, should I read them to you? Should I grab it? Maybe I'll grab it so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so excuse me for that little pause. So here are some of the things that I wanted to embody in 2025. I take a bold stand that were not true at the time. I take a bold stand for the change I want to see in the world. I claim ownership of my story to empower others. I trust my intuition and make confident decisions. I show up daily to serve and create impact. I collaborate and uplift others, knowing that we rise together. So I wrote down a bunch of things. Oh, this one I think will actually be relevant to a lot of us, maybe. These were things that I was really feeling before I started my 2025 deprogramming journey out loud with you on Sobriety Bestie YouTube. My worth doesn't depend on what others think of me. I stay true to my values no matter what others say. I don't need approval or understanding from others. My peace comes from within. I handle challenges with calm and confidence. I set clear boundaries that protect my peace. These are like my intentions for the year, right? I know who I am and I let others have their own opinions. I don't take on other people's energy. I am only responsible for myself. I respect others' views, but I don't let them change mine unless I'm critically thinking, right? Not to get locked in my views, but not to be swayed by other people's opinions of me or of the world are more important than my own thinking. Let me know what you think about some of these. I stand strong in my truth and let go of others' judgments. I speak calmly and clearly, setting boundaries without stress. I don't let false stories or projections bother me. I let them go. Everyone has their own journey and I give them space to grow. So those were like my 13 little, like who I wanted to kind of become throughout the year. As I knew I was going to speak online about AA, I knew I was going to get like put myself in a position to like, I don't know, get a lot of hate. I was afraid. So I kind of gave myself guidelines for who I wanted to be in that and who I wanted to become. And I feel like because what I do with like, look, not that we have to do it every year, right? Or at the beginning of the year. But what I like to do is I like to make like affirmations of who I am, who I'm not yet, but who I want to be. And I write down the sentences, and you can have Chat GPT if you use AI, right? Help you come up with them if that helps. But write down sentences about myself as if they're true for who I want to become. And then I read them frequently. So this was taped on my whiteboard. It's like magnetic, right? Like, so I something that as I pass by occasionally, like a couple of times a month, I'll read. And because I'm occasionally reading these things throughout the year, then I'm reminded to be them so then I can be like become who I want to be. So I hope that wasn't too much of a tangent to share that with you and somebody got some benefit from that. Let's see. Andrea says, I like how you are using present tense. Yeah. Excellent goals you had for 2025, and it sounds like you achieved them with grace. Thank you. It didn't always feel good. That's for sure. There's a lot of feelings. Bonnie, love all your ideas, especially boundaries, super important. Andrea says, you are a great example, Kirsten. Well, but I think it's also just like we know. Here's the thing: we know brainwashing works, right? Does anyone confuse that brainwashing works? I was completely thought reformed, mind controlled, brainwashed from AA. So then the point is like, how can I have that for my good? So instead of reading the Bill's bullshit promises because he's depressed and promising us happiness, like why don't I make my own promises, my own, who do I want to grow into? And so I'm going to be writing new ones today or in this weekend about who do I want to become by the end of the year, and I'm going to write it as if it was real, and then I'm going to plant those seeds in my brain. We know about the placebo effect. I'm going to read them frequently so that if I'm not, because here's what I would do. I would walk by these things. I highlighted the ones that I especially needed to learn, like um I take a bold stand for the change I want to see in the world was highlighted. And so each day that I read that I wasn't speaking about how harmful AA cult religion is on the internet, I felt a pain in me because I wasn't living that and I knew that I really wanted to be that. So then when I started doing it and I was scared and I was getting trolled and it was hard, I would read that. I'm like, no, it's who I am. And then you pair that with my other one about I'm going to be me regardless of what other people think about me. Right. So it's like, it's setting ourselves up for who we want to be. So it's new year, new freedom, new happiness, or new freedom, new happiness, but also the new year. Like, who do I want to become this year without being oppressed by a cult religion or a coercive control system, without having a sponsor to outsource my thinking to, without having to pray about it if we don't want to be religious anymore. Like, if I just want to choose and have agency, who do I want to become? It's such a great question to ask at any point, but there's a certain momentum with a new year where we kind of feel a little bit like refreshed, at least for a hot minute. So just writing the sentences down of who we want to step into, for me, I think it's really powerful. And then I read who I want to become. I don't read who Bill tells me to be. I don't read the big book anymore. I don't do Bill's preamble. I don't indoctrinate myself into Bill's control system. I indoctrinate myself into who I want to become. And now I can look at that list. I'm like, over the year, I did become that person. I read it all the time. And if I wasn't being it, then I was like, shoot, I need to be it. How can I be that? What does that look like? I'm scared. And then the next week I read it again. Shit, I'm still not doing it. And eventually we grow into who we set our mind to, right? Not always, but it's a good guide. So I wanted to invite you guys into that. Let's see. Mag said, I made a list for 2025 of what's working for me and what I learned. Awesome. And then one of the questions I had was like, what kind of freedom are you building? Or where do you want more freedom in your life? I think that would be a good thing to contemplate too. So new freedom, new happiness. To me, happiness is kind of fleeting, and I don't ever anchor myself on wanting to be happy. That's never my goal. I know what makes me happy. It's more like what makes me feel joy or like good or something. And usually for me, it's around learning. I love to learn. I love to expand my mind. I love to also like let go of my mind, like in yoga. So I do activities that I know I'm going to like bring me joy or feel good in. So I don't really seek happiness, but freedom, yeah, through seeking freedom, I do feel, I guess, a sense of happiness in doing that. And so I have like, as far as like my year, again, I haven't written up my like new sentences for the year, but I have another thing on my whiteboard over here because I have to have it visually in front of my face where I've highlighted the next steps in my own deprogramming journey. And I've been reading that like every week or like twice a week, just kind of remind me of like what my next steps are. I made a whole video on my YouTube channel about how long does deprogramming take. I think I made that one like right after Thanksgiving. So maybe it's the end of November, the beginning of December, if you wanted to look in 2025 on my YouTube. How long does deprogramming take? And there's like a big checklist of different things. So I'm kind of aware of like what my next steps for deprogramming are. So I'm probably going to reverse engineer that of who do I want to become and then read those sentences daily. It's just an easy thing I can do. It doesn't take that much time to set up. And then I just read it casually and then it just kind of seeds into my brain. I do think that there's a value in brainwashing ourselves and in which direction we want our life to go because we know it works. Let's see. Okay, there's lots of comments over here. I love that you guys are totally having conversations over here in the comments. What is this person? Let's see. Super says, anyone want to buy the first 3 editions of the big book? With laughter. Andrea says, I'm going to do that tonight. Yeah, I'm going to do it. if not later today, then this weekend. Well, this has been so fun. It's been great having you here this past year and deprogramming alongside you. I've really grown so much personally from deprogramming with you, from reading your comments, from reading the books that you've recommended, from some of you that I've talked to, maybe in DMs or in person on a podcast or whatever, or in Deprogram Lounge, right, in the community, on the Zooms, or in our book club. Remember, we have our book club for January. We're reading The Real AA. It's a great book. I really loved it. And if you want to join the book club, it's all in an app. It's called Deprogram Lounge. It's linked below, and it's free. So it's been a great year of deprogramming. For me, what's on the horizon for 2026, I have a lot of like reconstruction stuff I want to do. A lot of the deconstruction stuff I feel good on. I feel good on AA origin, mythology, the bullshittery of it all. There's still more deprogramming to do for me, but I also want to focus on some reconstruction stuff. So that's going to be exciting. Yeah. So let me know what's coming up for you in the comments, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. Let's see. Mag says, don't know if I would have got through my exit without you, Kirsten. Thank you so much to reconstructing. Yeah. I think one thing that to me, like what I hear in that comment, but what's also my experience is how much we can grow together by hearing what everybody else says, by conversating with everybody else, because it's so isolating. It was so isolating when I left. So to be able to deprogram out loud together, to me, is a real joy, and it's a real accelerator. This past year has been one of the most rapidly evolving years of my life, I would say, because of deprogramming and because of doing with everybody. And when you guys all say different things, like it sparks in me, and then doing the research and then engaging with you, like just hearing where everybody's at, I just get little pockets of freedom from all of it. So to me, it's been one of the fastest growing years of my life. That's why the deprogramming journey is so fun. Getting rocketed into our own dimension of fucking freedom. No space travel. But breaking through all the mental like constraints. Yeah, it's so freeing. And learning about the logical fallacies and learning about everything that happened in AA that was coercive control and all the fuckery, and then applying that to all of life. Like it's really opened me up to like so much of life, and it sparked so many interests in me of like realizing things that I want to explore. I don't know if you relate to this, but I feel like because I spent so much time in the cult, it really stunted my growth in a lot of areas, like my intellectual growth, if you will. And now I'm just like consumed with wanting to grow intellectually. Right now, I'm halfway through like Ken Burns' American Revolution. So I'm studying American history, like, and diving into that. I definitely have studied Rockefeller quite a bit recently and the connections to AA and all that. And yeah, so right now I'm kind of exploring American history because I kind of I pulled the string on Bill Shittery, and I've ended up in all these areas that I want to learn more about. First, it was cult recovery, which I'm still interested in, but I've learned a lot about. And so the deprogramming journey is like the gift that keeps on giving, because I keep like just becoming better. I keep evolving, and it's so fast. So meaning like it's just sparked so much curiosity and like hunger in me for my own evolution in the best way ever. So I always feel like such a positive feeling about it. Like, yeah, sure, if I can go back, I would never go to a cult in the first place. But because I did and I can't change that, it's like I am who I am now because of all that. And so not to sugarcoat the shit, but I love my current thirst and curiosity and passion for like uncovering truth and like seeing the world more clearly and knowing being more broadly like educated and stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Blue Butterfly says, I have been at this deprogramming thing for many years, but I haven't seen progress until your videos. You help my brain organize it all. Can't thank you enough. It's really great to hear. Yeah, I had to organize it for myself too in order to present it, right? And so I thought through it a lot about like I think I even made up some terms just to kind of make it all make sense. Like I'm like, okay, obviously bullshittery. Like and then yeah. So for me, things I don't know. Yeah, thank you. It's good. It's good to hear. Bonnie says, Bill Shittery, lol, Kirsten. That's so true and it cracks me up. Gotta laugh sometimes. Exactly. Kate says, I love learning. I stopped studying things while I was in AA. It's like finding myself again. Yes, this is how it feels. I'm like, through the back door of AA is bullshit. I've gotten interested in all these things that I never was interested in before. I might have, I would have been learning if I wasn't. I mean, how many times have we read the big book? How many times were we in meetings reading the same things over and over and over again, you know? And if that time was spent different, which it can't be, but I think that's now. I feel like I hit a trampoline and I just have this passion and this like zest for learning. There's just like not enough time. I'm trying to learn all these things and then I get side tangents. Then I'm like, wait a minute, what about the Civil War? Wait a minute, what about the Reconstruction era in America? Wait a minute. I was like, okay, so Americans wanted liberty and George Washington was kind of a vibe and then he wanted liberty, but then he had slaves and then they were oppressed by King Henry the Third or like whatever, and they wanted their own liberation. We want our liberation from AA. There's parallels here about what we're doing in deprogramming and what the history shows, and it just kind of goes on and on and on. And I just have this like thirst. So Kate, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Bonnie says, learning and growing and staying on a healthy path. Yeah. Andrea says, it really is exciting. I'm glad I did the search. AA is a cult. I hadn't searched for it in 3 to 4 years at that time. Crickets. Most people tell me they find me online by searching AA as a cult. Oh man, namaste, namaste. John says, you are the best. I am just short of 7 months in AA and I've already seen all the bullshittery. I plan to end it with my sponsor this weekend. I love him as a person. I hate him as an AAer. Good luck with that. Yeah. Only we know how long we want to be in AA or when we want to leave, right? There's no right or wrong. So I never would tell somebody to leave AA. I would certainly never tell anybody to join, but I don't know if anybody should leave AA. All I know is it's bullshittery. And I didn't even make up that term. That was a term that was in my comments on YouTube. So I got bullshittery. I got Bill Boozled was also one of my favorite terms, Bill Boozled, because I think it's all a con job. So Bill Boozled was in one of the comments on my YouTube, which is a great term. I feel like there was another one that is equally as iconic and not from me, but I use all the time because it's good. Mind fuckery. No, I'm not the first one who said that, I'm sure, but I didn't get that in the comments. That's just kind of how I see the whole thing. That's how I experienced it all. Let's see. Kate, it's ridiculous how well we learned a cult book. Totally. Study this bullshit for like every day for the rest of your life. Bonnie, it's all fascinating. David says, thanks for another great podcast. Gets me through the days in between going to AA and meetings I'm forced to go to from living in the sober house. That's right. You're, what you said, you're in your truck in the snow or something somewhere. Let's see, evolving. That's how I found you all. Yeah, I never thought, what's so funny is I never thought I would ever say I was in Alcoholics on the internet. And I didn't when I was in it. I think once I said I did the 12 steps, so I kind of hinted at it, but I never said I was in AA until 5 years after I left. And I said I left AA. I never thought I'd say AA was a cult on the internet. Are you kidding? Let alone AA anything. But so you found me from AA as a cult. Yeah, because that's what I feel like the two things that we might be thinking. Let me know how you found me or what you searched to find me in the first place. But I feel like the two things that I think would bring somebody to deprogramming content, whether it's mine or whether it's Quackaholics Anonymous or somebody else, is leaving AA or is AA a cult? Like, I think those are the two things that we would literally be searching in order to stumble upon deprogramming content. Wondering if like being kind of in the what the fuckery of it all and wondering, am I in a cult? Or do people leave? Harry says, how did your sponsor handle elephant in the room? Is that about somebody else? I don't know if that's to me or if that's to another commenter. Bonnie says, I don't identify as an alcoholic. I identify as a human being, made mistakes sometimes, learn from it and grow. 100%. Yeah, 100%. We are human beings. A, um, okay, Bonnie, is AA a cult? That worked for me. Yeah. And Mag says, is AA a cult? I never, you know what? This is the life beyond my wildest dreams that AA promised. Never did I imagine that people would be Googling, is AA a cult, and find me. Never. That was beyond my wildest dreams. I had no wild dreams that included that. This is beyond this, what we're doing here. This team freedom, new year, new you, new freedom, new happiness, bonanza is definitely beyond my wildest dreams. But yeah, I've cultivated a lot of freedom this past year, and I hope to do the same this coming year alongside you. So I do appreciate all of your, I know the word is, it's traumatizing. I know, trigger warning. I'm going to say a word that's going to be triggering for some of us. I appreciate all of your suggestions. I don't even like that word. But I appreciate when you suggest me things, when you recommend books for me to read, when you recommend other people's programs or courses or things or whatever that have helped you. I love the collabness of all this. That's why I say we, because I feel like I'm learning alongside you when you will tell me something that you're thinking about. Or like when I interviewed Bobby C and he was talking about Rockefeller, then I went to did a Rockefeller deep dive, right? So when you bring up the things that you're learning, because a lot of us are deep in rabbit holes around AA is a cult religion and how do I regain my mind? So I learn a lot from your little, you kind of spark me on a lot of rabbit holes. I appreciate that. Hopefully I've sparked you on some as well. And yeah, I love that we did it together because I didn't do this in my journal. I did it on the internet in the comments with all of you. So I appreciate you. Like I do. I really appreciate you. Like I've gotten so free this past year and I don't think I could have done it without you because if nobody was watching my videos, I don't know if I still would have posted them and done all the work. If nobody was commenting and if it was all haters and all YouTube trolls like TikTok or my current Facebook, I don't think I would have kept going. So it is we did do it together. You know, it was for me, it was a collab. Sure, I recorded the videos and edited them, whatever, but you showed up too, and you did the work too, and you shared what you were learning, and I'm proud of us because in a group that told us we would die if we left, that we had the courage to leave, that told us we were insane or diseased if we doubted the program. We doubted the program. We trusted ourselves and we left or we're leaving or we're thinking about leaving because I don't know where you're at specifically. And I think I think it's revolutionary, you know, and quite frankly, I think we need a recovery revolution. That's what I was thinking this morning as I was doing my red light therapy this morning, my red light panel. I was like, oh, wait, speaking of Ken Burns' American Revolution, by the way, have you seen Ken Burns' American Revolution on PBS? Sorry, I apologize to my non-American friends who just don't care about American history. But anyways, I think it's all interesting. I think all history is interesting, right? So I was thinking, speaking of the American Revolution, we need a recovery revolution because we got it all backwards at the mainstream level. We need modern science in there. We need the number one most effective way to recover, whether it's harm reduction or abstinence. It needs to be known that it's the number one way, not like the last most effective way, which is positioned as the first. It's literally 1984 vibes that AA is top of mind when it's bottom of the heap as far as effectiveness. The most effectiveness should be at the top of the heap for the first go-to method. Otherwise, we are taking crazy pills and it's not okay. We need to be talking about what works the best. So people say, you can't say A is harmful because that's killing people, but it's not AA or nothing. It's AA or something that's more effective. That needs to be mainstream. We need a recovery revolution. Ken Burns. We need a recovery revolution, Ken Burns. All right. Blue Butterfly says, I'm proud of us too. And Bonnie says the tide is turning for the better. This is all positive. We got Team Freedom from Blue Butterfly. Harry says, your TED Talk, abuse and amends. What do you mean about amends? So my TED Talk is called The Secret That Almost Killed Me. It was about tying, and I was still in AA when I did that. Like the entire first row, there was like 500 people in the audience. The entire right half of the front row was like my sponsor, my sponsees, like AA. It was like, you know how like we support everybody in AA, we like give all of our time to the cause. Well, they came to my TED Talk. But it was about connecting the dots between childhood sexual abuse, mental health declining, like specifically anxiety disorders and alcohol addiction. I was still in AA. So at the very beginning of my TED Talk, I talk about the secret, we're as sick as our secrets. And I say another AA line in that TED Talk too. I don't remember what it is right now. I don't think it was about amends. The point of the talk was to speak your truth, was to share your elephant. It was like the elephant in the room was about the sexual trauma, right? And it was like your elephant needs to be heard. Like if we just keep that to ourselves, like to tell somebody who can hear you. And I got such a relief from like processing my childhood essay with a therapist, and I needed to share my story and not repress it so that I can move past it. And so, but it was really about loving and accepting yourself. It wasn't about, I don't think I mentioned amends in there, but maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, Harry. I'm sorry if I am. Let's see. Blue Butterfly, I've been watching Ken Burns' Revolution special. All right, let's get Ken Burns on that recovery revolution, or maybe we should make a recovery revolution. Bonnie says, recovery revolution, revelation. I love it. Andrea says, we are the revolution. Yeah, you know what? I actually wrote a book in 2019. It's called The Heartgasm Revolution. So revolution is, I guess, a word that comes to my mind for things. My book about, I don't know. I apologize if you read my book, because then you've read the dedication, right? Do I have it? I don't even have my book on my bookshelf over here. I dedicated my book to, do you know this already? It's kind of embarrassing. I dedicated my book to Bill Wilson. Tell me you're a true believer without telling me you're a true believer. So, but the Heartgasm Revolution is about self-love and cultivating self, like healing my heart in sobriety and how I healed my heart. If you want a free copy of my book, PDF style, you go to sobrietybestie.com. There's part that says free gifts. You can get a free gift of my book. Or if you like paperbacks better, it's on Amazon. But if you want a free copy of self-love for like sober people, it's called the Heartgasm Revolution. So the revolution things are a vibe. Oh, wait, here we go. Continued. Harry said, sponsor makes you make amends for being hurt. Yeah, but I don't think that was included in my TED Talk, if that's what you were talking about. And then we have, I think this will be helpful to many. My hope is that it will save people from getting hurt worse, help people walk away and not be afraid to walk away. Yeah. Bonnie says, kick Bill out the door. We are free. Free at last. Free at last. Yeah. You know what was so weird for me? And maybe this will be a whole video. I'm still learning about it. Like reviewing some of the things that we learned when we were kids that I kind of forgot about. But the irony in George Washington, who obviously iconic for his own reasons and brave and all the battles he was in, although, you know, however you hold that. But here he is about liberty and he has all the slaves, right? So the dichotomy in that, and that's kind of, I see parallels with AA where it's like, okay, now we're in AA and we're free at last. We have a new freedom from alcohol, but now we're actually coercively controlled. We have become the slaves. We're to abandon ourselves. We are slaves to Alcoholics Anonymous, but we are free from alcohol. And just I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with my mind. I'm like, whoa, there's some, I don't know. I see parallels and things sometimes. Blue Butterfly says, I have your book. I want to get it signed. You know, Blue Butterfly, DM me your address in Deprogram Lounge and your New Year wish may come true. Alan says, I like what you're saying, except total abstinence for alcoholics. I believe if you started drinking again, you would be gone from here. My question, and you might be right, but my question for you is, have you read The Cure for Alcoholism? I have if you're watching on YouTube, I have my deprogramming books list below. And in that, when you click on that, it goes to Amazon. And one of the books in there under deprogramming is The Cure for Alcoholism. Now, the word cure is a little triggering, and the word alcoholism is a little triggering for some of us too, like me. But in there, they talk about the science of Sinclair method. So I don't believe that abstinence is required for most people. I think people can choose it. But when I learned about the science of Sinclair method, it busts the mythology that Bill Wilson embedded into society about alcohol addiction. And science is kind of showing something else. And it might not be true for everybody. So we got to just make this, everyone's individual. You know, we have different levels of trauma, different neurology, different systems, different genetics, different whatever, and different lifestyles. And so we need to figure out what works best for us. But what works for best for us might not work for other people. That's why I respect everyone's path. Like if you want harm reduction, if you, whatever your path is, like it has nothing to do with what I choose for myself. The point is that we're choosing. So me, the deconstruction isn't about being perfect. It's not about being abstinent. It's not about being anything. It's about choosing. I'm no longer in a coercive control system and I'm choosing for myself, and I might make choices and they might not go the way that I hope. And then I might make another choice from that point, but I am in choice. I'm not in a system that tells me how to live my life. I am choosing because I'm a sovereign being who loves liberation and loves my autonomy and can make choices for myself. I can trust my thinking. That's kind of more the vibes that I feel. But if that's not your vibe, that's not your vibe. I don't know all the things for everybody, right? Kate says, "Oh no, Kirsten, that's hilarious. Is that about the Bill Wilson thing?" Yeah, that didn't age well, did it? Bonnie says, "Hell no, we won't go to AA." It's hilarious. And collective consciousness revolution for regaining sobriety. David says, "Ken Burns is awesome. Love all his videos, and your idea would be awesome." Cool, sweet. Yeah. So I listened to, there's 6 videos, I think, for Ken Burns' American Revolution, which just came out around Thanksgiving time for like end of November, basically. So maybe like less than 2 months, a month and a half ago. So I've watched 3 of the 6. So I still have more to go. It's a little harder for me to follow because y'all know I've told you I'm like a visual person, right? And so because there wasn't photos or videos from American Revolution, obviously it's a little harder for me to follow visually because it's like paintings and stuff, although it is done well. For me, I really like the series on what's the History Channel. I don't know. It's on YouTube. It's free. And it's called, and I don't like the name either, but it's called The Men Who Built America. There's a series, The Men Who Built America, and it gets into Rockefeller because I wanted to learn more about Rockefeller. Well, Rockefeller Senior, not Junior, the one that was with AA. Rockefeller, Carnegie, Vanderbilt, so Gilded Era vibes. And then they did The Men Who Built America. They after that, they filmed one that takes place in history before that, which was Men Who Built America, Frontier Men, which was also really interesting. That was produced, I believe, by Leonardo DiCaprio. A lot of money went into it. It's a reenactment. So it's a dramatization. It's not just like stories over photos. They actually had actors play parts. There's like Davy Crockett and like all the people, right? Lewis and Clark and all that. So it was interesting, sad, obviously, because there's Native Americans, but it's interesting. So I really like that as a series. I know we're going off on a tangent here. Sometimes for me, it helps to understand, though, the context when I'm thinking about AA and deprogramming it, the context in which the era Bill was in when he developed Alcoholics Anonymous. What was going on in that era? Okay, so they were coming up on World War II. They had just got finished World War I. Prohibition was happening. Like, so what was going on in the public consciousness in America, which is he was American, right? But also in the world, what influenced him? What were people thinking? What was like the thought of the time? So to me, that helps give it context for like deeper level deconstruction, the way that I like to think about it, at least. I don't know. I'm like a total fucking nerd though. Let's see. Andrea says, "I still drink a little. I don't have the phenomenon of craving. I relapsed really bad when in AA. I believed I couldn't stop. My limit today is 4, but usually go no more than 2 once or twice a week." Yeah. I love that you've taken back the narrative on your own story with alcohol, and that when you don't believe what AA told you, you're having a different experience with alcohol. Now, that might not be true for everybody, but I have heard that from a handful of people. Bonnie says, "We may have lost our path for a time, but we can regain it and find even more amazing pathways to truth, love, and peace." Yeah. Kate says, same experience with drinking as Andrea. And Blue Butterfly says, right, I agree with what's going on in the 1930s. And then we have Custom Sewing says, yep, look at current history. I think it's one of the many reasons why I think many will walk away from AA in 2026. Yeah, it's really interesting to tie in the past with the present and to see the parallels. And I've heard people say history repeats itself. I've heard people say history rhymes, like it's a little different in the future. So I've just like unlocked so much curiosity and like zest for learning after leaving AA. And specifically this year, the deprogramming stuff that I did, I was like, wow, this stuff all goes really deep. If you keep pulling the thread, I still have lists. I had one comment, I wrote it down. Let's see, it's right over here. Is it? I think it's right here. Or maybe it fell off my desk. You guys, I try to be organized, but also there is that kind of ADHD thing that happens. There's a piece of paper around here somewhere about things that I still want to study. Somebody said, look at the origins of religion. There was 3 things, like the origin of language, 3 things that I should study to deepen my rabbit hole so that I would understand, I guess, what I'm talking about even more in the context of AA, or a deeper understanding of it. So I have a lot that I want to learn. I feel like brand new again in some ways. I don't know if you have this experience after leaving the cult where it's like, just like stunted by some things, and I just have this zest for catching up or for like learning things and kind of like not taking things on the surface, or not just believing what people say or what the narratives are, understanding that most of what's repeated in society is like propaganda stuff and other people's narratives, this desire to go deeper. And that's all emerged from having left a coercive control situation like AA. So I love this thirst that I have. It might be more of like a burst. I don't know if it'll last forever, even though I've been like a forever learner. I've always loved learning. Even when I graduated grad school, I still was like learning. Like I love learning a lot. Yeah. Let's see. Bonnie says, walk away from AA. We still have the internet and podcasters like Kirsten now. Yeah. An evolving one says, prohibition. They needed a reason to normalize selling a lethal drug, so that they came up with born an addict disease concept to blame those who had difficulties regarding alcohol. Yeah. Well, y'all, this has been super fun to vibe with you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Cheers to you. Proud of us. Proud of us. I'm so proud of us for the great job we did this past year with confronting hard truths, feeling hard feelings, grieving our way through, letting go of the past, being rigorously honest about what actually we were in, and building a new life for ourselves in whatever way that looked like. So I look forward to many more conversations with you in the comments, or if you want to come to the Zoom and the book club inside Deprogram Lounge, that's linked below. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. It's okay to be proud of ourselves. It's not self-seeking. It's not self-centered. It's not wrong to work hard and reflect on it and be like, look how fucking far I came. In fact, I think it's really healthy to have some self-esteem and to be proud of yourself for work, like hard work done. Because the healing stuff isn't easy, is it? Like a lot of it can be brutal and hard and lonely, and the emotions might be hard to process and feel and get through. And it's definitely can be shocking and disorienting. I felt so unmoored, like disoriented when I left AA. So getting our feet back on solid ground, finding community together through the comments, I'm proud of us. I think we're really courageous. In fact, I put a video on Facebook a couple of days ago that said, I think we're really courageous. And it got like hundreds of fucking assholes from AA saying all sorts of mean baloney things. But I don't care what they think. And the truth is that's content prior to investigation. If you've never left AA and or haven't talked to a lot of people who left AA who were true believers or thought it was true, because if you thought it was true, then you wouldn't leave, because to leave is to die or destruction, right? So it's incredibly courageous to leave. And if you really believed it, and if you don't see that, it's because you don't understand it. but they still judge it. So they don't have to know. AA doesn't have to know what we're doing. We know. I see you. I see myself, and I'm proud of us. We got a lot of thanks yous here. We got evolving, proud of you and appreciate you speaking up about the cult. Harry saying, great work being done here. I'm proud of us all too. We got thank you, everyone. We got it's really hard. I'm proud of others that do it too. And then David, I saw Men That Build America more than once. Love those history videos. Yeah, so good. So fascinating. And then evolving, they claim to be spiritual, but are so cruel to others. Totally true. I had somebody say to me yesterday that they feel more connection with AA escapees than they did with AA members when they were in AA. And yeah, I feel like we've all just been through the whiplash of bullshittery, and it just kind of like leaves us in like kind of stunned, but in a very different vibe. So yeah, I'm really proud of all us, and I'm gonna leave it there. I'll see you in the comments if you're catching the replay. If you have any recommendation for future topics of live streams or videos, definitely let me know. Happy to continue to have this be a collab. And I wish you the best in 2026. Okay, let's put up one last one here. We have, wow, I'm so happy catching the live in my YouTube 2025 recap. Said Sobriety Bestie was the channel I watched the most. Oh, how funny. With the number of clicks, it even said that is dedication. Yeah, we're getting free up in here. Harry says, Happy New Year. The future belongs to us. Bonnie says, Happy New Year. We are going to rock this. And Bonnie says, AA escapees, lol, Kirsten, love those sayings. We escaped. That's what it felt like. It felt like I escaped. I left the group thinking that I would die, but knowing I had to leave anyways because I would not betray myself by staying in a harmful group once I saw it. It's like once you see Santa for what Santa is, you can't keep going. You don't go back. You walk through even if you're scared. Although I wasn't scared about Santa. I was disappointed. But yeah, we crawl out anyways, or we run, or or we slowly limp. Some people do it over years. But yeah, for me, there's no going back. And I'm proud of us. All right. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.